Excuse me. I'm not feeling well. I guess it's the allergies. I don't know. But anyway, I just had to come on here because I've said this before in the past, and I was one of those people who didn't want to think about life insurance and funerals and all of those things. But when you're living in this world, you have to think about those things, and you have to prepare yourself and prepare your family, because we don't know when our time is up. Only God knows, right? So it's really helpful to your family members who are already dealing with the death of their loved ones, and to have the extra burden of trying to raise money or ask people, to support their GoFundMe and all those things is really stressful. And how do I know that? Because we've done it for my sister Regina, who passed away in 2018, and I did the part to where I called her job, and she had insurance. But what wasn't, this is not to her fault, because people just don't know. I don't know if it's something that's not spoken about, or I don't know what the situation is, but not everybody knows that their jobs usually offer like a $10,000 life insurance policy. So if you're working, if you're employed, even if it's McDonald's, do your research and find out if your employer they have some kind of basic life insurance for you, because it's going to really help your family. And the only reason we couldn't use the insurance was because my sister didn't have a beneficiary, and so it was a whole deal. And so we had to raise money. That was very stressful, because I'm not a person who likes to stand on the streets and ask for money, and we did other things too, but it's just an added stress that your family should not have to go through. And I know things, like I said, things happen and we don't know our time when it comes. Somebody can have an accident, unbeknownst to them, and they're gone, and then the family has to figure out how they're going to bury their loved ones. And so in order to avoid having that extra burden, go ahead and get yourself some insurance. Get your family members insurance, your children. I have my children on my, I have insurance for them now, since I've been working consistently in the district that I'm with. But if you're like I didn't want to think about death. I didn't want to think about those things, because I felt like if I thought about it, if I got it prepared, then it would happen. But that's not the thinking that you should have. That's the lie. That's a lie for the enemy. You need to get prepared. You need to have all your things situated, have your beneficiaries already together, have your will together. That's another thing that adds stress to family members, because people fight over money. And it's not good that people do that. But it doesn't matter. Even that was the other thing that my husband and I used to talk about too. Well, we didn't have a lot at that time when we were talking about this. Was like years ago when my children were still little. Our children were little. We didn't have anything to leave them. You know what I mean? But even in that, you may not think you have things to leave them, but you got something, and all of these things is what needs to happen. And I don't know. But I know in the past, I know statistically it was Black African Americans who didn't have life insurance. It may not be so this right now, but just in case it still is, and even it doesn't matter. People who have a lower income, and I'm not saying African Americans, because we're not the only ones that deal with low income. All nationalities, all ethnicities deal with low income in some shape, form, or fashion. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to get because my throat is really hurting right now. But I really wanted to get this out because it's on my heart right now. And but not everyone has money flowing, you know what I mean? But if you think about this, you can think about it this way. Even in my times when I didn't have a lot of money, from what I could tell, right? Well, I'll put it this way. When I was pregnant with my children, there was only one income coming in. I quit working. I was working prior to my children. My first job was at 14, so I had been working, right? And I was working when my oldest son was going through his bouts with health issues, and I ended up leaving the job because I needed to care for him. He was in and out the hospital the first 2 years of his life. Then I got pregnant with my second son, and so I didn't go back to work until I think it was, I went while I was pregnant with my second son, but that was at my church. I still had an income, and I left there after a year, and I didn't go back to work again until 2006 when my daughter was born. Hard decisions to do, but you have to do what you have to do, because as your family grows, your needs grow, right? Financial needs grow. And so all the situations happen to my family, and but even at those lowest points, it's like, if you think about it, learning how to budget is helpful as well. You can't eat out all the time. You just can't. You have to work out how, everything that needs to be paid, pay your bills, do what you can to make arrangements if you don't have all of the money. It's just these are life skills that many of us did not learn. I did not learn these life skills, okay? I didn't learn how to survive in this world. It was a lot of error. It was a lot of bad decisions. Whew, I'm about to cry right now because God is so good, y'all. Even in the midst of my not knowing things, He still provided, right? But there comes a time to where when you start knowing, you gotta just discipline yourself. That's the whole thing. And I'm not targeting anybody. That's any person who feels like they don't have enough money, and you see that there's more bills than what your paycheck provides, right? There's more, how do they say it? You have more month than money or something like that. I don't know, y'all. I don't know all these little quotes or whatever. But anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. Because we've been in those situations, multiple job changes, or, being laid off, or, those things like that. But even in my times of not having, quote, quote, the money, if I wanted something from fast food, I found it. So with that mindset, you cannot survive and live a good life. You know what I mean? You can live a good life, but not a good life to where it's in order. Your life is in order, as much as you can have control over that part, because we do have a part to play, as far as like how our lives go to a certain degree. Okay. So planning well. If you don't understand these things, they have a lot of people on YouTube. Okay. Talk to somebody about, a will. It doesn't take a whole lot. You don't have to go and hire a lawyer and all that kind of stuff. Just write it down. Get it registered with the I think it's the county clerk's office, or somewhere in here in Houston. I can't remember. And I learned this stuff as well with my brother passed away. Get these things done. Get it registered so that there is proof on file of who gets what, no matter what it is. Okay. And there's no extra grief. There's no fighting or nothing like that. People can contest it all they want to, but if you have the actual proof that it was done, and do it when you in your right mind. Don't wait till you get when you're not in your right mind, because then people will say, well, such and such, my mama or my daddy or whatever wasn't in their right mind when they did this. And then, the person that they wanted, a person or persons they left it with, then they aren't able to do what they need to do with it. And so you want to make sure that you're of sound mind. And of course you will need a notary, someone there who is certified notary that can say, hey, this person was in their right mind to do this, and so I witnessed them or whatever. So we did that with my brother as well. I got my friend, she is a mobile notary, mobile notary, I guess that's how you call it. So she could do it remotely, right? She can come to you. She can also do it remotely. So find someone like that. Talk to some people. You can go and reach out to 211. They may can give you some direction. Just do your due diligence and make sure that your affairs and your family's affairs are in order. It doesn't cost much. I promise you it will not cost that much. My mama used to have, she had insurance for us too back in the day. And we cashed it in because even though she had insurance for herself, I'm sure, but she had it for all 8 of us, all of us, okay? And I remember her paying like $1 something every week or $2 or whatever. I remember those little papers that she used to have. And so we ended up cashing in those insurance policies to bury her. But she did the best she could, okay? So please, please, oh please hear me and hear my heart. Please do your due diligence, research it. There's no excuse for not knowing. Google is available. YouTube is available. Just search it. How do I get a will together? What do I need to put in my will? How do I get it registered? How do I get it documented to where, you know, they can go and find it or whatever? Have your copies in your home. Find someone that you trust to be your beneficiary. Not somebody who's going to be greedy, but somebody who actually is going to take care of your business. They're going to do exactly what you tell them to do in that will. However you want your funeral to go, whatever it is, they're going to have your stuff and you already have it in order. Let it be known what you want at your funeral so that there's no crazy going on. You know what I mean? I've witnessed it too much, y'all, being at other people's funerals, you know, within my family. Not that we were fighting over anything per se. I wasn't fighting over anything because he's like, yeah, I'd rather have my peoples. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, this is what tears families apart as well. Everybody is wanting something after that person that they say they love is dead, and that's not cool. So please, 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 the main part of this video is do your due diligence. Make sure that you are insured. Make sure that your children are insured so that you don't have the extra stress or burden of trying to figure out how you're going to bury your loved one and having to ask for handouts. Okay? Because if you're not prepared before it happens, you know, it's gonna be a lot, and it's gonna be a whole mess of things going on. I would rather be in peace. You know what I mean? I want my family members to be in peace. Whenever I, you know, transition and my children still here, whatever, my husband, same thing with him, making sure that we are where we need to be. We have what we need to have. It's just good sense. It really is. It's just good sense. And I believe that, especially if we are people of God, just in general, but, you know, we have to be wise. We have to be good stewards over everything, over the finances, over, you know, what he's given us to manage in our lives, you know, because the finances belong to him, you know, good people. But that's another story. But let me get off of here because I just made it back home, dropped my daughter off, and I need to go lay down. I had a long day, had training today, but just wanted you all to know that please, please, please make sure that you have insurance. Go in, like I said, go and do your research. I know Gerber Life used to offer insurance for babies. A $10,000 policy was like, I think when I did it was like less than $5. You know what I mean? And you have it probably $5 a week, or you can do $20 a month. I mean, we can do that. We really can. So please go and do that for your family. Do it for yourself. That's a legacy you want to leave. That's the legacy. You want to leave a good legacy. You know, break generational curses of not being prepared, of not having to go and beg people for money and standing on the corner in the streets and everything and putting buckets out and stuff like that. Let's break the cycles, okay? Let's do that. Amen? Okay.